Welcome to another episode of Reverse Ambition, a podcast that features individuals that dive into their passion, take a leap of faith, and follow their dreams. I have my good friend, Julian Riley, who is the founder and CEO of Harlem Blue Beer Company. What's going on, brother?
I am good, sir. I'm good. So it's a privilege and honor to be with you. It's always good to chop it up with you.
Yeah, man. We met ages ago, man. I think we met one of my events, and we've been connecting organically ever since. So I also appreciate you sponsor one of my events.
Of course, appreciate the hustle, man. We'll get into it, but that's one of the things that why I started the company and what I think our company stands for. But it's all about grinders, hustlers, and dreamers. So, like minds and all that. So now it's an easy kindred spirit.
Yeah, man. Okay. Before we get to Harlem Blue and how you were able to find a beer company, a brother finding a beer company, I want you to walk me through your journey. Like, I know you're from Boston. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't hold it against me.
Nah, I'm not holding it against you, man. And you went to Tufts University, right? Is it Tufts?
Yes, sir.
What did you major in Tufts?
The Tufts University.
Oh, my bad. The Tufts University.
Right up. I did poli-sci, political science.
Oh, okay. Why you chose that major?
You know what? I'm honest. I don't think I really knew. It just was what everybody was doing. I started out thinking I was going to be not necessarily engineer, but I thought I had a math game with me. And I took a finite math course that first year, and me and my boy together, our score didn't reach 100. I was like, you know what? F this. Let me switch it up. And I went poli-sci. So I was thinking law. I was thinking something along those lines. I played on the basketball team. A bunch of kids on the team that was poli-sci. So I didn't have a good reason, but it just seemed like kind of what was happening.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know you played basketball. What position?
Yeah. I was like an off guard,
Oh, shooting guard. Okay.
They put me down there low against somebody that was bigger than me. I'm all of 6'3". I ain't really supposed to be down low, but every once in a while I had to do that too.
Okay. Posting up people. All right. So poli-sci major. What did you do after college?
So after college, so look, I'm inner city Boston, grew up kind of all the inner city stories coming up and was blessed enough to go to a couple good schools that wasn't really what most of my friends and family were seeing. I always thought I would stay in the Boston area. Manhattan seemed like crazy to me. It just was so big and like impersonal. All the stories that you would hear about Manhattan, neighbors didn't know each other. You didn't talk to nobody. 1 million people on the subway. And to some extent, that's all true. And now I've lived here 25 plus years. But my girl from college is a native New Yorker. I'm sure that had a little more influence on me than I'd like to admit. But
you came here for your girl, huh?
A little bit. That obviously, as the story always is, it didn't end up happening that way. So it was that purpose was misplaced. And I had put in, just before Manhattan, I put in 8-10 months in Atlanta. I tried to give ATL a shot.
And what was that like?
I mean, I like it. It's pretty. It's nice. It's all that kind of stuff. But I'm a Northeast friction kind of dude, and it just was a little too
country,
clean and easy for me.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Just for me personally, it just didn't. I think I like being a little bit of the mellow dude in the wild, crazy Northeast. Down there, I felt myself going in different directions, and it's you can get distracted down there. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful things. It was a great experience. I enjoy it. It just wasn't. I needed to come back up north.
It was too safe, huh? It was too relaxed. It was like
it was too relaxed. It's too clean. Like everybody. You can't leave the house without your car looking right, and you gotta gear up all the time. And the Boston, I didn't grow up like that in Boston. in New York was also a little bit more just sort of rough and just go, man, just get the hustle done, get however you got to get there. So that was more what I was looking for.
Okay. So, follow your girl to New York.
So yes, I come to New York. And I went and I was begrudgingly thinking about law school, but I wasn't 100%. I think I've always been kind of entrepreneurial minded, I guess. I don't know the best soundbite for that, but again, growing up in Boston, I've actually been on my own since I was 16, even though I got tons of family and friends that I count as loving and blessings in my life. Mm-hmm. My great-grandfather and my grandfather was born in Barbados, but kind of would more or less call himself from Boston. And my great-grandfather was from Barbados, and they came over and started a furniture moving company in Boston. So I was always around kind of entrepreneurial hustle there. My kind of extended family, but also has a jazz club in Boston. Been there since 1946, continuously family-owned, Black-owned. I was always around that kind of energy. You know, I had a bunch of like hustlers and kind of street people in my life, and not necessarily in a bad way, just sort of like people that just went out and got it done. So I had that kind of mental. And by the time I came to New York, I think I was just like, well, I'm going to just figure it out. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, but I'll just figure out the hustle. So
you didn't enter corporate America at all?
No, I did, though. So I'm kind of setting that part up a little bit because I knew I had to have a job, obviously. I had to have some paper. I had to have something steady. And while I was in college, one thing that I would always advocate, and when I speak to younger folks and, you know, I talk to college kids and to even law students, because I did go to law school eventually as well, internships. I killed it with internships. So when I was at Tufts, I did 4 internships, 3 at like big firms in Boston, and always was caught up in that and just sort of spending time with it and listening and just trying to be a sponge and pick all that up. I came to New York and found one of my old roommates from Tufts, got him to find me basically his mom's crib, and they had an extra bedroom. She let me crash there, gave her a little bit of money on a monthly, but it was a super sweet deal. And I did that. I got not an internship, a paralegal gig at a big law firm in Midtown.
Okay.
So, you know, they didn't really care for too much of anything as long as you could read and write and went to a decent school. That sort of put me in there. So, I humped it for 2 years, paralegaling, made, you know, decent money by New York standards. I wasn't Willie at all, but I did that for 2 years and decided to take the LSAT, went to law school at Fordham Law here in the city at in Lincoln Center. And then what did I do? Then I did 2 years as a law clerk in a federal court downtown, Southern District of New York. And that's when the entrepreneurial juices started kicking in even more. I mean, I had...
Well, you didn't care for law? You were like, this is not it?
Well, no, because I was still doing law, but I set up my own shop down in Soho with a couple other dudes, and we had like a relatively sexy, like 5,000 square foot loft, pool table, big screen TV. We used to have fight parties and stuff. And in the back, we had a post facility for making films. We were all doing some version of entertainment law, mostly TV, film, art. I did a little bit with the art galleries and fine artists and photographers and stuff like that. I got a little bit of like independent film producing in my arsenal.
This is while you were still practicing or, you know, doing being a law clerk?
Still practicing, yep. So I was down in Soho for almost 8 years, 8 years. I produced with MTV, with HBO, with my own personal as a producer, and repped a bunch of, you know, nothing huge, but I got a chance to work with almost every studio in LA and a lot of independent producers in New York, writers, directors, and all that kind of stuff. So I experienced all of that from a
So what were you producing?
Just sort of stuff that I felt like I've always appreciated storytelling. I don't think I'm the best at it or anything, but I always thought that it's the way that we socialize as a people.
Right.
So just on watching TV and in a new world, all the stuff that we can read off of our phones. But so with MTV, we did a project called Hood Hoops, which was kind of street basketball's influence on the NBA, and we had dozens of big name ball players that we had in the project, and that went well. And then we had a 3-way deal with Blockbuster, MTV, and Coca-Cola, and then Blockbuster went sideways. They sort of started losing their speed, and MTV did a changeover with their people and stopped doing direct-to-video projects. And so, it didn't end up the way I wanted it to end up, but not for the people on the creative side were fantastic. It came out great. It just sort of lost some speed, and that stuff just sort of happens. And a documentary over at HBO with these 3 brothers out of Newark who are real good dudes who I still count as friends, but they had a book called The Pact that I was an attorney repping them back in the day. They grew up together in high school, formed a pact to become doctors, and they each became.
I think I heard of that. You produced that?
Yeah, they're real good dudes, and so we did a documentary on them as well that sold and did well. Bill Duke was a producer. We had a few folks in there, and they just real good dudes. So we worked that. So I had a hand in that, and a couple other small like shorts and stuff that we did with the festivals and those kind of things. So that was that phase. And
so wait a second, you were doing all this while still being a law clerk, and you said you had a lounge in Soho, right?
Well, no. So I had stopped the law clerk. So the law clerk was 2 years. I did a little bit of freelance on the side while law clerking, but that was that sort of tied into a little bit. I actually had worked a little bit with Stacey Spikes when he was starting the Urban World back in the day. So this is taking it back to, I don't know, 96, 97, 98, somewhere in like 98.
Okay.
But then I stopped clerking, and then I was doing the producing. So the producing was going into the 2000s. We're probably in 03, 04, somewhere in there.
Right.
And so that was that. I had my firstborn born in 06. So right around 06, I had told myself that I wanted to start like my own shit, like for real, not as a lawyer. I was a little bit entrepreneurial because it was my own thing then, but I wanted to get out of the service business and wanted to really just sort of start something with a widget and like make some stuff. Started, and I wanted to do that before I started having kids. Didn't completely work that way, but right around that same year, they sold our building in Soho, gave us a little bit of a buyout. We all had to keep it moving. We all kind of had plans for stuff that we were going to keep doing. And so I set up a shop over in the West Village with a couple good friends who were advertising dudes. And we were playing around with some brand management and just sort of looking at some things. And the whole time I was just trying to figure out what's the future look like for me? Like, what would I do if I wasn't afraid to fail? What would I do if I could just grab my balls and jump? You know what I mean? Just sort of take a chance. I was ready to, bet on myself, kind of.
Right.
Folks use a lot. And so somewhere in 2010, 2011, right up in there is when I had the idea for Harlem Blue and just sort of thinking, how can we marry craft and community from a Harlem point of view? And so that's what got me.
What sparked that idea? What sparked the idea to?
I mean, again, it's a combination of storytelling. It's a combination of kind of where I'm from mentally and kind of where I thought my spirit animal lived. Like I just sort of wanted to just hang in and seeing Harlem, I guess. I just sort of wanted to.
Were you living in Harlem around that time?
I was inching my way up more and more. I used to live on 96 in Riverside. Then I went up into Morningside Heights, so up near Columbia. Then we shifted over to Central Harlem at 116. And I don't know, I lived 2 other spots. I've lived like 3 spots in Harlem. But yeah, it was looking for something that was comparable to what Brooklyn was doing. Granted, I usually check people on comparing Brooklyn and Harlem because Brooklyn's a whole borough. Harlem's just a little tiny neighborhood, you know what I mean?
Right.
But because because it's the black Mecca, because it's, because it's Harlem, it has a big shadow and it gets compared to everybody. But my initial thinking was, we need to make some shit from Harlem. Like, I wanted to have a product that was artisanal, that would show our energy from Harlem. And that's when a late night conversation with my boy Jared, who's also from Boston, from Cambridge, we were chopping it up, and somewhere along the way, a Google search got me into beer and
Oh,
craft
wow.
beer. That's where it all started. Yeah.
Serious. So you didn't know nothing about the beer industry. You just basically.
Not in any real way.
Say that again?
I said not in any real way. You know what I mean? Like, what I did, what I felt. So I already said my fam's got this jazz bar in Boston, while in the South End. I bartended all through college. I've always felt that the bar as a meeting place is kind of the most democratic place on the planet. So to me, in a lot of ways, and my wife will say this too, that it's kind of all roads lead to Rome. In that I like the socializing aspect of everybody being able to come together and just chill. It doesn't matter what your job is, what your business card says, what color your credit card is. Like, you can just walk into a bar and bullshit. You can talk about what the sports, girls, flirting, like whatever you want to talk about, you can do it. And you can do that anyway. I don't care if you're in Brazil, South Africa, like Italy. Like, I feel comfortable going into any bar, any place, and I know I'm going to be able to chop it up with somebody. So that part of it is just me. That's me. Like, I love that social side of it. So in that sense, it was perfect for me. I didn't have the chops for like making commercial beer by any sense. I had just started trying to play around with some home brewing and trying to get a feel for that. But I knew what I liked and what I didn't like, and I knew the beer bar game. So I just went and found me a brewer with commercial experience who I could get to make the taste the way I wanted it to taste, and started rocking.
Okay. So lead me, from, you came up with the idea. You said you found your brewer to like actually launching and becoming a viable, startup beer company. What was your process?
All right. So you take me back a little bit now. So we in 2011, maybe 2012. What I told myself back then, and I think it's still true, I needed three things. Of course, I needed to be able to make good beer. Like, I pride myself on being kind of an everyday dude and got a decent amount of friends. I'm no social broker level type of guy. But I value good people. And if I say, yo, Cal, I want you to taste this beer, it can't be bullshit. So it had to be like, I knew I had to make good beer. I needed a brand story that like had some stickiness to it. I needed a story that could vibe. And then the pipeline, I needed distribution. So I knew I needed those three things. So the first was finding somebody that could make the beer the way I wanted it to taste. I knew which styles I wanted. I found two different dudes, and we built out a garage in Brooklyn, this kid's aunt's garage. Nothing crazy, but just like a little small pilot batch system where we could make decent volumes of beer for they were just like 5 and 10 gallon batches, but just to play around with the recipes and see if I could get to where I wanted to get simply by saying turn left here, turn right there, and just I like this taste, don't like that taste. So that was number one. I already sort of knew my name. Harlem Blue was just sort of kind of came together with me thinking about this folklore in Harlem. The back during Prohibition, there was a Brownstone Speakeasy that made their own house brew.
Okay.
And they tapped a new keg of the brew. They put a blue light on out front to let everybody know.
Oh, dope.
So, yeah. So to me, that was almost like some Atlanta, like Krispy Kreme shit. Like, it was like, just to be bold enough to say, I make great beer and I want you to know about it, put your light on out front. And even during Prohibition, when it's a little bit lawless and you ain't supposed to be doing it and you're like, F that, I'm still going to do it. Like, to me, that represented everything that I wanted our brand to be. A little bit irreverent, a little bit of from the street, Brownstone, up in Harlem, and serious about our craft. Like, we make good beer, and I want you to know about it, and so we're gonna make sure you recognize. So that was always. So I felt like I had those things in the right pocket, and then distribution was relatively easy after that because I had the story. My beer was solid, and I was blessed enough to have a couple different distributors say that they would rock with us.
Oh, wow. So did you self-finance all this?
Nah, I mean, I used to think that I could. I mean, my paper was not that long at all.
Right.
I quickly found out that wasn't going to happen. And I bled through, entrepreneur stuff, especially for anyone that's listening who's thinking about getting into it, and presumably a lot are. It's it's not for the faint of heart. Like, it's real. You're gonna have to miss some meals. You're gonna collect some bottle caps and do the whole thing. I had one little baby at the time. I've had a second one like 3 years ago. But what I did is the first layer is always in the bootstrap scenario, which this certainly was. You drain everything you got, then you go family and then friends. My friends had longer pockets than my family, but I feel blessed by any and everyone that put some paper in. So it was a collective process for sure. But I had friends that were bankers and lawyers and doctors and stuff in the city. So I went around and just gave my spiel to everybody. This is what I'm thinking. This is how we're going to go get this. And, just try to piece it together with bubble gum and toothpicks. And just like we just sort of made it happen. So it was, and I'm proud of the fact that, most of those folks are young Black men.
I was about to ask, people of color, you getting money from people of color?
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't want to overstate it. It's a hard, and it's not even a statement against nothing. Like, I'm way past, even though I've certainly had my moments, but I'm way past thinking that it's, we could always do more for ourselves, right? We want to be active in our own rescue. I think it would be great if we always supported each other to the fullest.
Right.
But with that said, I had plenty of support, and sometimes, sometimes someone can't put cash up because they just can't put cash up, right? Not everybody is what they look like from the outside, and vice versa. Maybe you just didn't strum the guitar the right way. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't make me feel it, so I'm not going to be there. Like, you know what I mean? So right. I got to be honest and have some self-awareness and say, I just didn't hit him the right way or her the right way. It just didn't happen. So I take the blessings for what they are. The ones that didn't, and you just keep pushing. But by and large, I had a lot of great support and still do today. I mean, we still raising, we still growing. Our growth rate is real solid, and we probably will always be looking for money to some degree. I mean, I don't know that we're ever completely self-financed because you're always growing, trying to go further. So, I had a conversation with an institutional entity yesterday talking about some things that we're looking at for 3 years from today. So there's a lot of, like, there's always places where you need to get more paper. So the support has been there. A lot of
how many people you think you were get to like buy into, Harlem Blue and drop money?
Say it one more time.
How many people did you get to invest?
12.
Okay.
12 non-family.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's big or little. It's, it's
right.
big.
That's a good number. Are they happy now? Are they happy with growth, and are they happy where things are?
It's all love is still there. So, as far as I can tell, they respond to my emails and my phone calls and stuff.
Right.
And I in the streets, which is one of the things for me personally. It had to be people. Like, that's my check and balance, right? So I can't be bullshitting people because I'm going to see you again, if nothing else, on the holidays or when we hang in or out in the streets. Like, I can't do you dirty. So it keeps me tight, and all of my friends are smarter than me. They all good school dudes, good jobs, pay attention. They read stuff.
You have to produce any kind of report for them, like, I want to see the numbers.
Yeah, I send around quarterlies.
Okay.
All that. Yeah. So no. It's we try to keep it as real and functional as possible, and Yeah. So that keeps me in check. That keeps the game going, and it allows me to remember why I got in this, and that we trying to go big. Like, I'm thankfully I've got a lot of patience. I know it's a long haul. I think as a black male, I was gonna say entrepreneur, just as a black male business leader, CEO, whatever, I think there's always challenges that
As a
include
black male,
chasing capital. But
right?
I mean, I think everybody's got challenges. Black women have challenges. Indian women have challenges. Like, Spanish kids, like everybody's got challenges, right? So it is what it is. Gay, straight, like everybody's got challenges. So you just play the cards as they dealt and keep it moving. I feel very blessed with what I've had so far and how I attack the day.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said you're married, right? So how did your
Yep.
wife support you in your entrepreneurial endeavor, especially starting, something from scratch? You didn't really know a little
Yeah.
about the beer industry. What was when you told her that you were about to start a beer company? What did
Right.
What was her reaction?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that the net is she supported me 100%. I think it's always, I've been with my wife for a long time, so we've been together for a minute.
So she kind of knew who you.
She just knows how I get down. She knows that I'm a dreaming.
Is she is she like you, or is she just the opposite of you?
She is probably the opposite. I mean, I don't want to speak too much for. I think that most people who know us, like, she's mad smart, sweet, Midwestern, right there. That's already the opposite of me.
Right.
But no, she's a great. She's great in every way, and she's a much more grounded kind of fundamental. But she's also an actress. So
okay.
I'm about to say she's grounded and fundamental. Like, she's a dreamer too. She's an actress. She went to Michigan undergrad, London school, studying acting. Came to New York and went to a great conservatory for 2 years with a big acting coach, and has a lot of training. I mean, she's a sister in the industry and has, they have whatever challenges they have. But with that said, she grinds it and puts it in and does a lot of work. But so the short answer, she was very supportive. Thankfully, I think that we both have we'll grind now and floss later kind of thing. And, we've lived well. Like, I'm not going to, it's all relative. It depends on what you do, but we do a little bit of traveling. We're comfortable. We're not flossing. And I think that's, one of the things they say a lot about entrepreneurs, aside from how much time you put into it, is that, you got to be a person that's willing to live like most people won't. In the future, you can live like most people can't. And like you just sort of, it's that kind of grind. Like,
right.
I just believe in the vision, and it's not even a paper chase. I think if you go in it for money, for me personally, I don't think that can get you there. I think it's got to be, you got to map it out on either how much market share you're going to tackle, or what sales benchmarks you're going to get, or what kind of market reaction you're going to get. Like, you got to find other benchmarks to look at. If you're just trying to put a couple more zeros in the column for your checkbook, like, I think you lose energy on that real quick.
Right.
Because as much as you come up with a plan, is really about execute, fail, and pivot. Like, that's for your entrepreneurship, if not business in general. Like, execute fast, fail, pivot. Like, nothing works all the time. Whatever that failure might be small, that failure might be big, but whatever it is that didn't come to exactly the way you wanted it to, all right, reassess, pivot that shit, figure it out, let's keep it moving. And if you people to do that well, and that's a continual process for me as well, but, try not to overthink it. Try not to, because that's what a lot of us do. I count myself in that. Is like, think about shit forever and ever and ever. How many ways can it go wrong? And, get caught up in the paralysis of overanalysis, and you spend it all the time thinking about it. Like, nah, just do it. Like, yo, just go. Give it some good thought. believe in it. Once you get them sites lined up, pull the trigger and let's go. And then after that,
study long, study wrong.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Right. So I think that's the way it is. But yeah, she was kindred spirit on that level, and she thought that beer sales in particular, back to my the thoughts on the what the bar as a social touch point and meeting place is. She knew that kind of fit for me. So I think she thought that this was just a good look, better than, I don't know. I didn't have some crazy thoughts in my head in the past.
Dude, you a Cancer like me, so I totally understand.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, yeah. So
you always coming up with you probably got a million ideas in your head. You had to nah.
Right.
I'm gonna stick to this one.
Turn that shit off.
Right.
Yeah, I used to keep a notebook next to the bed. I ain't kept it there in a couple of years because I would just put too much stuff down. But yeah, so that's the way she looked at it. I think she's good with it. She it's
And you guys have how many kids now? Like 2 kids?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, we got a boy and a girl. Yep.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, man.
So I mean, how many times you said pivot, right? How many times you think you pivoted for Harlem Blue in terms of what you thought was going to happen, didn't happen, you had to figure something else out?
Yeah. I mean, if it's 10, it's 100. I don't know. I mean, it depends on the level of the pivot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this week I pivoted and it's only Tuesday. You know what I mean?
So you're always pivoting, bro. You're always pivoting,
yeah,
huh?
you stay pivoting, but it can be something small from I want an intern to be able to do, I don't know, data analysis and social media programming, and come to find out it's better off separating the two.
Mm.
Or I need my distributor rep to, I don't know, carry samples of both of our current beer styles with them and hit these 3 neighborhoods hard on Tuesday because there's an event coming up in the following week that's going to give us some buzz in that neighborhood with some people that I know. Come to find out, they really should just push this one style, and it'd be better if they hit it on Friday because it fits for these 3 accounts the most, and we can build it from the top down and make the big accounts like us first, and then the smaller ones will follow. There's always in theory, there could be a bunch of little mini changes versus I haven't had any
major.
Well, no, I think there could be some big ones too. You might change whether you're going to go. We were going to go bottles. Now we're going to do cans for our release.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing draft only all the time. We're getting ready to do cans. That just was a function of what the brewery could best do, what was easiest for us and cost-wise, and what's being cans. I thought cans was going to sort of pass. I think it's a little bit, not necessarily a fad, but it just didn't feel as great to me.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I have to remember, and I think this is a good pivot, certainly for a consumer good product, is I'm getting a little bit older, right? Now, cats that are 35 and older, I think bottles are cool, or not cool necessarily, but they fine with bottles of beer because they're used to seeing that. Cats that's 35 and under is nah, I really only fuck with cans.
Right.
That's the beers are cool in a can. That's what it is now. And I think you got to be able to accept that in the market and know that you might not be your target audience. Right? Target audience might be a little bit bigger than you.
How are you able to do this market research? Is this just observing and you have a team that kind of help you, decipher what's going on in the market?
Yeah, I mean, I think like most entrepreneurs, initially I'm my own kind of, I'm wearing all those hats, but starting to fill in the org chart a little bit. But a lot of what I'm talking is anecdotal, just being out in the bars and I go into bars 3-4 nights a week. I might sit at a bar and not tell nobody who I am and see how many times they pour in Harlem Blue, or I might ask a customer, why you liking that beer, what you doing, and not tell them nothing about what I do just on GP, or I look at social media, post this thing on a Sunday night versus a Thursday night, or a Tuesday morning versus a Thursday morning, and just sort of see what clicks, what doesn't click. Like, I think you just have to do all that stuff on a regular, and you still got to know that what it is this week might not be what it is a month from now. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the life of it. You know, we become beholden on Instagram and Facebook right now, but you know, tomorrow that shit could change. Like, people are just trying to figure out that likes don't mean as much as we thought they meant just a year ago.
Right.
So it was like, get me likes. Like, all right. Now people are like, I don't know if I need a whole bunch of likes or a whole bunch of followers. I want good likes. I want good followers. The likes might not be enough. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, I think that you got to be open to pivot. But yeah, I'm trying to elevate that side of my game and you know, really build for growth. The whole org chart, which is putting people in positions. You always want to find your best use, right? As a founding CEO, I think that's one of the biggest challenges is what's your best use. So you're not doing every single job. Like, I could spend 4 hours preparing samples of beer, putting them in bottles or cans so that we can go and take them out to acquire new accounts. That might not be my best use, like just filling up fucking cans and bottles of beer. Like, sometimes I got to do that though. So sometimes I got to carry them. Sometimes you got to do whatever. But, you know, so you just got to find kind of your best play on that. And I think that just comes with time and a little bit of money. I mean, sometimes that's a money conversation. If I had the money to hire all those people, in theory, I guess it would make a difference too. But, again, I don't think you got time to think about what if. Sometimes if it needs to get done, it needs to get done.
Right.
Grab a broom and get it cracking.
How many people you have on your team now?
I don't know. I mean, pretty much my whole team is a la carte. I just call them where I need them. I got a creative designer. I got a graphic designer. I've got a brewer, obviously. I've got a guy for events, and I've got a new marketing group, which is 2 people. 2 women that I just brought in. So that's, you know, there's about 7 people kind of doing stuff, and we just brought in 3 interns or 2.5 interns. One we'll see what's going to happen with her, but so that, and we're trying to bring in another probably 4 people over the summer, over the next 3 months.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we at.
So that's cool. I mean, so in terms of where Harlem Blue is located, I'm sure they're in Harlem. How many markets are they focused mainly in New York, or are you able to?
Yeah, we still just New York, and I think we're gonna be only in New York for a couple. I would guess we're gonna be only in New York for another 12 months.
Okay.
It might go a little bit more tri-state like Jersey and Connecticut, but I get asked to come all the time, but I think a lot of times as a founding entrepreneur, you want so much to not necessarily control it, but you want to see it.
Right.
My fear has always been if I start putting in other cities, I can run the Harlem Tavern or Corner Social. I can run the Bedvine in Brooklyn if I need to, or I don't know, Butterfunk. Like, I can go to accounts and go check it out if there was some sort of problem, or just to go and just, like I said, be a fly on the wall and just peek it. If it's a random spot in
Sound
Hartford,
like you're very hands-on, bro.
Yeah, but I need to stop. I need to grow up. So
I know.
So it'll be more. I think we should be in 5 cities within the next 3 years. How we get there is a part of our current conversation. We're talking with a lot of people, including distributors and the growth plan for the cans when we start releasing those. But I'll be excited to talk about that real soon. Probably in the fall, we'll be able to put some dates on the calendar of where we're gonna start doing some extended launching.
Okay. Seems like you got a lot of plans for Harlem Blue, and you're like knee deep in the grind right now. So what's your ultimate vision for Harlem Blue, and you as an entrepreneur in terms of where you want to be with your family, say in the next 5 years?
I mean, the little voice in my head says world domination. So I'm gonna let that shit out. Like I came into this with some like to really get at it. So we're gonna try and go hard. With that said, I would love it to be a family-owned business. I already said I got kids. I would love it to always have Black ownership in Harlem. I would love it to always employ Harlemites. I would love it to always represent the, Harlem soul. Like I usually would describe it as something along the lines of a new craft beer company from Harlem celebrating grinders, hustlers, and dreamers, made special with Harlem soul. Like that's the way I usually think of it, and I wanted to always do that. Now, of course, Harlem as a destination is changing and becoming more diverse, and whatever that is what it is. That's just the way the world is right now. So be it. But the way I look at Harlem is even more than just the sort of 6-mile circumference of the boundaries at the top of Manhattan, or not the top, but upper Manhattan. That I think there's a Harlem diaspora, if you will, that goes beyond New York City even, and it's just people that kind of get Harlem, whether you lived in Harlem, know people in Harlem, just kind of dig the romantic story of the Renaissance era, or I don't know, some of the politics, or like whatever it is you love about Harlem, the music. And I think that extends well beyond our borders. And in a weird way, I think that we'll do better outside of New York than inside New York. And so if we could have any piece of just sort of adding to the conversation that we can make shit from Harlem, that we can be artisanal, that we make good quality. I think it's established that we do hospitality well, right? We know Harlem kills it with music performance. We know Harlem kills it with food now, and not only Marcus Samuelson, because he's beautiful and it's fantastic what Red Rooster has done, but we've had, significant culinary killers for a long time in Harlem. And I think that those kind of things are well represented. I'd like to be part of an artisanal movement, a fabric, almost a reawakening of that kind of thing. So if we're doing that in the next few years, and and lending a hand and bringing people up and kind of making that the community more extended, that's what I'm looking for. That's the goal.
Sound like you getting ready to take world domination for sure.
Yeah, well, there's a plan anyway. We'll see what happens. It's on the chalkboard.
Sound like you're gonna have to knock on some banks' doors to get that seed money to scale, bro.
Yeah, we're gonna have to pay for that. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
All right. Well, you seem like you got your pitch down pat, bro. So, congratulations on your successful so far. Congratulations, not only as Harlem Blue, Harlem Brew. Congratulations as an entrepreneur, because just hearing you, I didn't really realize that you did TV production, that you owned a lounge. I didn't even know you were a lawyer. So you're a man of many talents.
Sometimes when we out flowing, there ain't time for all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, it's I don't put in time. We all got stories. That's another thing that I think is beautiful about you doing the podcast and us sort of talking like that. What I assume, just knowing you and the way you introduced the show, like it's about us sharing stories, right? If we not
right,
that's one of the things as a people, certainly as people of color, but just in general, like we need to be sharing more stories, because we all hear a little something from that. You never know who's going to hear it, how it's going to connect to them, and what's going on. We're doing an event next week, I think, with a Harlem Entrepreneurial alumni group in the city, but like 3 of the top people in the program in the Harvard Entrepreneurial group or something are people of color, Black folks in New York City with really big jobs, doing big things. And that's kind of why we in New York, right? The belief is that New York is about that hustle and about opportunity and just being around more people, more diversity, more at bats. Like we all just want more at bats.
Yeah, man.
and it adds to our story. So that's what we're trying to do.
Exactly. I mean, I believe that there's so many people who are so talented, who are just afraid to take that leap. So hearing stories like yours and how you easily transition, no fear. I'm sure you had fear, but you
a ton of fear. But
you went and did it
you gotta
anyway.
jump, though.
Yeah, man. It's all about taking that
jump.
leap, So I feel like there's so much talent that's wasting on working for somebody else and working in corporate America. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with corporate America. Stability is always good, but I feel like if you're talented,
Right.
you're talented. In whatever way, I think the world needs to see that talent and experience that talent.
Yeah, I mean, you just touching on it. We ain't got time for it. We might have to do a part 2 or some shit on it. But I think I talk about this with a lot of people, and I want to say up front, I'm not saying this for everybody because people need to find their gig, like whatever works. If a gig for a big firm, and we need soldiers on all them walls, you know what I mean?
Right.
But a lot of times we spend our best years working for somebody else.
Listen.
And then they gonna spit us out, yo.
Bruh.
So let's say late 20s, all your 30s, somewhere else, you hit 45, and they're like, yo, you know what? We can't use you no more. You like, yo, I'm just getting warmed up. They're like, nah, we got the best out of you. Now you just, so that's my always biggest problem is like, yo, use your good years if you that type of person. So
right.
So that's my caveat. It depends on kind of how you built, but man, use your good years going to get that shit. Like, take a chance.
Exactly. And that's what Reverse Ambition is all about. Just to give you the reason why this is called Reverse Ambition, reason why I asked you where you went to school and what was your major, a lot of times we ended up not doing nothing compared to what we went to school for.
Right. Nah, real talk.
You know what I'm saying? So you're a great example of someone who poli-sci major law school, and now you're owner of your own beer company. So you're a great guest, man. Your story is amazing. Thank you for sharing it with us. And like I said, good luck, man. Good luck with scaling beyond the physical boundaries of Harlem. Harlem is everywhere. Harlem is here in DC. Harlem is all over Europe. So there's a great opportunity there, man.
Nah, good looking. Kelsey, it's always a pleasure, brother. I really appreciate you. Appreciate the time and the light, and we'll see each other real soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks again, man.
All right.
All right. Peace.
All right. Peace.
Thank you all for tuning into Reverse Ambition Podcast. It is really a pleasure sharing these amazing journeys with you. It may take some time for you to find your purpose and realize your dreams, or for your purpose and dreams to find you. When it happens, don't be afraid to pursue them. Be more afraid if you don't. Trust God, trust your journey, and most important, trust yourself, and it will all work out. Until next time, I am Kelsey Cooper, the Social Broker. Thanks again for listening.